I'm Dan Brisbois, and this is the Farmer Spreadsheet Academy.
Let's hide some error messages with the IFERROR formula. If you want to follow along at home, you can access this spreadsheet by going to farmerspreadsheetacademy.com/FSA023. This example comes from Farmer Spreadsheet tip number 19, using index match. We have a chart over here where there are different crops listed, and for each crop is a different Jang seeder setting. In this yellow cell, we have what crop we're looking up, and in green is the seeder settings associated with that crop. We can change what we're looking for and get different seeder settings. Let's look up for turnips. There it goes again, and let's go back to beans. Oh no! We have an error message because we typed beans the wrong way. Here's another spreadsheet. In this case, we have different crops, whether they're transplanted or direct seeded, how many bed feet are being planted, how many rows for each crop, what spacing they're being planted at if they're transplanted, and then if they're transplanted, how many plants we need to grow in the nursery or a greenhouse to plant out, and then what tray size we're going to plant these plants into, or what tray size we're going to seed into in the nursery to grow those plants. And to figure out how many trays, we do equals 300 divided by 128. We get our formula, and you can see down here, it shows how many trays. Let's drag this formula and drag it down there. And oh look, all these error messages. Because you can't divide by 0, we get an error message, which creates a very unsightly chart, and it makes the sum formula at the end in yellow useless. Let's take a snapshot of that table where if we delete one of these 128s, give us a message. Let's start off by seeing what the problem is. So D6 divided by E6 gives us an error message. That's what we got here. Let's use the IFERROR formula. It starts off with IFERROR, open parentheses, then put in the formula that you're using, comma, and then the result you would like it to give instead of an error message, if there was an error message, close parentheses. So equals IFERROR, open parentheses, D6 divided by E6, comma, 0, close the parentheses. And here, instead of giving an error message, it gives 0. If we go back and write back in 128 in E6, it gives us the right number of cells. If we write something like beans, this gives us another error message because we put in a text instead of a value, and that gives us 0 too. So let's delete that. Instead of using 0 or some other number, we can also put in text. So in this case, IFERROR, open parentheses, the formula we're using, comma, and then the text we want to put in. So when we're putting in text, we have to put it within quotation marks. So open quotation marks, choose tray size, close quotation marks, close parentheses. Let's copy this over, equals, there's the formula, enter, and here, instead of the error message, it gives us choose tray size. If we put in 128, it'll give us the right answer. If we put in beans, it'll tell us to choose tray size. Let's go see that IFERROR formula in action. Here we have our index match. Let's say we write beans with a typo again, and we get an error message. Let's fix that formula. IFERROR, open parentheses, and then the initial index match. At the end of the formula, comma, open the quotation marks, not in list, close quotation marks, close comma, enter. And so it gives me this message instead of an error message. If I wrote beans the right way, it gives us the right result. Beets the right way, the right result. Cabbage the right way, not in list. Oh, it's not on the list, so that's why we don't see it there. Let's go back to this table. Let's put in our equals IFERROR, open parentheses, F5 divided by G5, comma, 0, close parentheses, drag that down, and instead of an error message, I get a 0, so it adds all of this up, and I get 6.25 trays that I need to plant. So with IFERROR, you can make things much nicer to look at and also make them a little bit more functional in certain circumstances.
And that was the IFERROR formula. If you want more farmer spreadsheet tips, then subscribe to this channel. See you soon. Happy farming.